Hello everyone. It's Monica Blankos here, just fixing my camera so I can see y'all. How's everyone doing? Today I'm going to be sharing with you a masterclass on how to actually get some really good results online if you're a fellow hypnotherapist. If you're a coach or a healer or some other type of modality, this will serve you in terms of helping you perhaps set up your sessions a little bit and choosing the right kind of platform for you. This is specifically for my hypnotherapy buddies out there, and it comes up because received a special request to do this class. Because a lot of you have had to transition, particularly Melbourne buddies have had to transition from clinic appointments to online sessions, and so we're still kind of learning in terms of that space and how to serve our clients to the best of our ability, and so one of the challenges has been how to actually move from that clinic to online space, and also how to utilize some of those inductions and things that would require you to be in person with your client. So that's one of the things that we'll be covering today, and also some of that kind of pre-talk and things that will assist you and assist your clients to believe in online as well. So, before COVID hit and everything like that, I was also in the clinic, 3 to 4 days per week, and I had to rapidly change that to almost exclusively online. At the moment, it's online while we're in lockdown in Melbourne. But even so, once we're out of lockdown, it's a model that I'll continue to use and implement, because I know firsthand that it's effective. It's a fantastic use of your time, so I'm not having to travel back and forth, thank goodness, and it's also convenient for the client too. It's convenient. They don't have to travel back and forth. And also with some client groups as well who prefer not to leave their home, right? So a lot of the clients that I've been seeing, I specialize in anxiety, and so them not having to leave their home, not having to leave familiar surroundings has been a real blessing, and it's been a real asset. So there's some of the benefits as to why I'm doing this today, because there's obviously still some suggestions, some modifications that we can do, that we can implement to continue to get those client results, with hypnotherapy online. So I've got some notes here for you. So please, take note if you'd like, and also pop in some questions if you have any questions about working online. So I'll be interested to hear how many of you are working online. So just pop in the comments yes if you are working online, and if this is something that you're going to continue to do here on in. So really the first component, before you even go into working online is to actually first and foremost check with your insurance provider whether you can, and if there are any restrictions here, because there's no point in you're setting up practice, you're doing all this, and then you find out that you're not actually covered for it. And this is really that first step, because I know with a really big insurance provider that I was with previously, they covered online, but they had so many restrictions with hypnotherapy. So yes, you could do it, but you know, there was all this kind of, you know, bit of red tape that you had to go through. The client couldn't be by themselves. They had to have someone else in their home or their space with them. And so I found that really restrictive, because not everyone has someone that can come over and just sit there kind of with them in another room while they go and have hypnotherapy. I found that really, you know, impractical. And, you know, and some other kind of guidelines as well that just really didn't fit the kind of work that I did. So I had to change my insurance based on that. So please check and see whether you're covered. And while you're at it, have a check and see whether you're actually covered to provide online in other countries too. So one of the questions that's come up as well is, you know, are you covered for the US, working with the US? Now, my current insurer also has some restrictions in terms of how much work I can take from the US. I am covered, but I think, you know, it has to stay under like 25% or something like that of my total work. So first and foremost, make sure that you are covered there. All right, so just checking and seeing if there are any other questions. So let's get into the next part. The next part is about before you even get to your consultations, is setting up this positive expectancy with online with your prospective clients. So, you know, during your consultations, having those conversations about what can clients expect from your online service, does hypnotherapy work online? So, you know, things like, you know, stating things like, yes, it does, it works just the same, if not better sometimes, because you're already relaxed in your own environment. Yeah, so it can be beneficial because you're already relaxed. You're not in, you're not in the clinic and an unfamiliar environment. It can help you relax even more. So, I mean, that's something that I tend to say, in addition to some of those other benefits, like you don't have to travel, and also you can maintain consistency of your sessions too. Okay, so that's a really important one. You can maintain consistency, because particularly, like, you know, if you're working with someone over a number of sessions, and perhaps, you know, you're dealing with trauma, or, you know, some of the, you know, the heavy stuff, and, you know, you want to be able to kind of move through that as quickly as the client would like, so they can get those results quicker and faster. Whereas, you know, if it's exclusively in person, then, you know, you're going to be at the whim of whatever the current guidelines are, and also your location too. So perhaps some of my buddies in Queensland and Sydney aren't experiencing difficulties like we are here in Victoria, but, you know, we've just got to kind of, you know, adapt and do what we can with what we've got. So, you know, having those online sessions can help your clients to maintain that consistency, and help, you know, them to get the help that they need quicker, rather than having to wait and sit with the uncertainty. Obviously, there's always going to be those clients who are like, nah, I just want to see you face to face, and I'm happy to wait. And if that's the case, that's the case. There's not much else that we can do about that. But certainly having those conversations, you know, in your consultations with prospective clients about, yes, it is, you know, it is the done thing. It is, you know, part of regular practice now. Yes, it is. It does work well, sometimes even better than face-to-face. And it is convenient, and all of those things. So stacking the positives. All right. The next thing is about what platform you use. Now, you know, most of us will be using Zoom. And if that's the case, awesome. I just want to kind of put out a little bit of a, you know, something just to help you be mindful of, that there are some platforms, online platforms that you can be using, so for video calling, that aren't actually secure. Things like Messenger and WhatsApp, they aren't, you know, or even those Facebook groups, they're not secure platforms, and you can't confirm that, you know, your client's information will be kept confidential. So I really hope that you would look at finding a secure platform like Zoom. So Zoom is secure. Also, there's another platform for telehealth called VC. So that's VSEE, VC. And I was using that for a little bit too before jumping on Zoom. So they're two platforms that I know. If there are any other secure platforms that you're aware of, please put them in the comments, so that, you know, we can help our buddies here. So secure platform we've covered. So FaceTime also, you know, video calling. If both of you have iPhones, that's considered a secure platform as well, because you're not using anybody else's kind of technology. It is the iPhone technology, just like a phone call. All right, so before when you've booked your client in and they're ready to see you online, there are a few things that you need to kind of let them know and prepare them for your session. And I like to put all this stuff in an email to them that I pretty much cut and paste for every client, so that they've got something in writing in terms of the expectations, you know, how to actually set up this session for maximum effect. So I always write, you know, an email after they've decided to work with me. I say, you know, thank you for working with me, and here are the instructions. And this is what I put in the instructions in the email. So I say that, you know, you've elected to do X amount of sessions, and this is via Zoom. I provide them with my Zoom link. Previously, I would create a new Zoom link for every client, and then I realized, like, why am I doing this for? It's just creating more work for me now. So I will just give everyone my same personal kind of meeting room link. And in my settings, I make sure that there is a waiting room, so I don't get any, you know, unexpected guests. It's only me who can accept and bring them into the session. So I give them the link, and I say we use this link for every session. I advise them, you know, please use headphones. Make sure that you're in a confidential space. It's some of these things you think, yep, this is pretty kind of standard and it's to be expected, but I've had to update this because there's been times when they haven't, you know, done these things. So the more specific in terms of outlining what the expectations are, the better. So headphones, make sure you're in a confidential space. I don't know how many times, you know, people have been on there and then, you know, their husband or partner or whatever are walking past and go, yeah, I'm just, you know, or they're in the back room of somewhere and it's kind of like, this is your session. But anyway, so just let them know again, this is you know, make sure you've got a confidential space, you know, with no people or pets in the room with you. Ensure your device is charged. So many of my clients would choose to use their phone and go through Zoom on their phone, and that's completely fine if they want to do that. But often, you know, using video calls, and, you know, if we're on a call for, you know, for an hour or an hour and a half or even two hours for that initial assessment, then yeah, that's a long time, and that can be draining on the battery. So again, putting in, make sure that your device is charged, switch off any notifications. So often if someone's on a laptop or a computer or something, they'll get those email notifications, and so they'll be looking at you, yeah, this, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, something's just come in, and it's broken that broken that consistency and that flow. So I say switch off those notifications, put your phone in, you know, either flight mode or do not disturb mode, and I show them how to do that. Remove smartwatches. Okay, so with smartwatches, you know, you can get a message or a call, and you'll get that vibration on your arm. And again, that can be an interruption, particularly if you're right in the middle of a session and suddenly you get a zzz, right? It can really distract them and go, you know, and have their attention elsewhere. So just put it out there, make the list, you know, maybe do a video and send it to everyone, or, you know, an email like myself, just list all these things out to help them prepare for that session. And another good one that, you know, I haven't seen a lot of information on come across is actually in terms of their physical location. So yeah, instruct them and let them know that, you know, lying down on the bed, great. Yep, they can, you know, have the session there. That's no problem. But if they choose to sit upright, or if they choose to sit in the chair, to make sure that the chair has appropriate head support as well. Yeah, so, you know, maybe like a recliner, but something that's holding their head, because you know what happens with hypnosis is just suddenly, right, their head can roll around. If the chair that they're sitting doesn't have armrest or arm supports, I mean, they could fall out of the chair and really hurt themselves. And so we as practitioners, we are actually responsible for, you know, we have that duty of care to them to advise them where would, you know, an appropriate location be that is going to support their, you know, their well-being, but also their physical safety too. So yeah, so let them know that, you know, they can either lie down somewhere comfortably or recline, but in a chair that has a headrest and arm support, so they're not at risk of falling out and hurting themselves. And so I mean, by this stage, you know, you haven't even started the session, but you've given them lots and lots of instructions as to how. And if you give them all these instructions, you're going to give them a pretty good, you know, pretty good setup for the session. They're going to be all ready to go. You know, and at the start of the session, you know, when you welcome them and everything, you're like, yep, so have you got your device charged? Just remind them a little bit. Yep, and so, you know, have you got those headphones? No, I don't. So can you go get them, please? It's going to enhance the session. You know, let them know what they can do to support their phone. You know, do they have blue tack? Could they put their phone in a bowl of some sort, or a vase, or, you know, a mug or something like that, to have it, you know, to have it kind of upright, or, you know, that camera, sticky tape even across the phone onto something works. Whatever's going to work, whatever's going to assist you for that hour session or so that you're with them. So once all of that's covered and you've set up your session, then it's time to look at how do you now adapt that session, the actual work that you do with them, so that it works and is just as effective online. So one of the questions that I got asked is about, you know, effective inductions. Now, some hypnotherapists will be very hands-on in terms of the inductions, like, you know, touching everyone and whatever, and there's arms dropping and whatever, and close, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And obviously online that's not possible. All right. Me personally, I think from day dot, I didn't do much of that at all, because I came from the school of thought that you don't touch your clients. You know, you don't touch them, and if you do touch them, you have to make sure that you absolutely get their permission and everything like that. But I just came from that space and that kind of educational background, but also my work in social welfare, that it's very much a hands-off, you have kind of very much that hands-off approach. And so I, you know, through my education, I didn't really kind of delve into all of those inductions and techniques that were really, really hands-on. And so moving online, I didn't really find it any kind of different really than what I would do in the clinic. But I know for some of you who you know are really hands-on and you know who use that, obviously who use that to your advantage, may be struggling to apply now kind of like the in-clinic to the online now. And so hopefully, you know, these few strategies and these you know, few inductions that I'll share with you might be able to just help kind of bridge that gap there and help you look at other ways of you know, still obviously providing an effective induction and meeting, you know, meeting your client's needs. So what I'd recommend doing there is looking at you know, what are those convincer strategies that you have and that you know that could be used here. You know, like I'm sure you know all, you know, at least one in your toolbox. You know that one, you know, it's like close your eyes, you know, I mean clasp your hands together and, you know, and then watch it go together and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So what convincers can you actually bring out and utilize that don't involve you touching, but it does involve that hypnotic phenomena, right? That it does, yeah, that does utilize that it does convince the client that yes, they're under hypnosis and it's all working and everything like that. Yeah. So convincers, look at implementing and you know, using that to kind of start off with. The other ones is, you know, you can also use some of those confusion inductions. So those confusion inductions are, you know, they're very wordy and they go from here to there, and they don't necessarily are very logical, and that's so that the mind gets confused. And the theory is that if the mind gets confused, then that person, the conscious mind, just gives up and it's like, oh yeah, whatever, okay, I'm with, you know, I'm all in, kind of thing. So looking at using some of those you know, confusion inductions, and maybe even some of those lengthier inductions as well. So for instance, if you're aware of the blackboard induction, you know, so imagine that you're writing the letter A, yeah, and you set it up and everything, and then imagine, you know, you're wiping that off and then writing the letter B, and with each number you go deeper and deeper. With each number, more and more space, you know, allows you more and more space to rest, to go deeper to X, Y, Z. So some of the more lengthier ones, and look, it could be as simple as just allowing the person to count back from 100. Like, I mean, that's really, really simple, right? But it's also really effective. If you're getting them to count back from 100, you're at 100, deeper relaxed. 99, deeper relaxed. You know, you're allowing yourself some time there, and giving the client some real time as well to really kind of relax into the session, yeah, and to get familiar with your tone, you know, with your nurturing tone, whilst, you know, you tell them to continue with that, and you give them further suggestions that you overlay on top of that for, you know, that they are going into hypnosis, that they are deeply relaxed, that they will listen and apply, you know, all the suggestions that you give them, or all the suggestions that are of value to them, and then also looking at, you know, what are those inductions that you use at the moment that perhaps have maybe a physical element that you can remove that will work just as well, right? So one of the ones that I've been using is the element induction minus the arm drop. And if you look at the element induction, there's a lot of components in there, right? And, you know, one less component Is it not going to work anymore because you don't use that one? No, of course not. There's a lot of suggestions and things in there, you know, such as, you know, even asking them to close their eyes is a suggestion, right? You know, that eye lock test. So make sure they're relaxed, and, you know, make sure they're relaxed all the way, and, you know, making sure that they're relaxed so much that you know that they just won't work anymore. So that's a suggestion that you can give that doesn't involve any touch whatsoever. Yeah. You know, relaxing your whole self from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. You know, putting in some sort of distraction filter in terms of, you know, any sound that you hear only deepens you even more, or any sound that you hear only, you know, I say something like only confirms to you just how relaxed you are, and how relaxed you've become, and how relaxed you're becoming. Yeah, so you're acknowledging that there are sounds either within this room or outside this room, or even sounds within you, but you're acknowledging those sounds. You're not saying, oh, you know, you don't hear anything. You're acknowledging them, but you're promoting them in a way where it's like, yes, see, you are hearing the sounds, and you're just noticing just how relaxed you are despite those sounds. Yeah. Eye fractionation, so opening and closing the eyes. So this is going to show you what state they're at. Okay, because if you're telling them to open and close their eyes, and what you're seeing is this, and their eyes are kind of like binging open, and it's like, yep, then that's an indication that they're probably still very alert. They're not really, they haven't gone into that alpha theta phase. They're you know, they're really alert. So, you know, continue working with that, and do that perhaps, you know, a few more times, or do that maybe later on in the induction, and that can be some really good feedback to you in terms of where they're at, because you know, when they're really struggling to open their eyes, you know, and then when you ask to close and they're like, oh, and you're kind of sensing that relief when they close, that's when you know that they're going in, that they're at the right kind of state, and you can deepen that even more. So there's some kind of indicators, and you can also use things like those ideomotor signals as well. So you might suggest to them that they go down 10 times or 100 times deeper or whatever, and when they're at that level, then, you know, let their yes finger rise. Yeah, and obviously their hands have got to be somewhere where you can see them on screen. Yeah, or to nod their head or something like that. Yeah, because then that way you're getting the feedback that you need in terms of that depth of trance for then you to go on to the next section. So I hope those tips have been helpful. I know I've been utilising a lot of these myself, and having a bit of a play in terms of inductions, and amazed at how many times I have to repeat myself in terms of the instructions to clients. But you know what? That's just all part of the game. That's just what we got to do. So if you've got any further questions about this, please list them below, or if you've got any other questions that you'd like me to cover in terms of working online, or you know, working with clients for effective results, then please feel free to let me know, or let me know in the comments. And I hope that all of you are doing really well. I hope you are all you know, taking care of yourselves, taking care of your families, particularly during this time. And those, you know, my Melbourne mates, I feel for you. I'm here too, and I'm just hoping that, you know, that this won't be a long time. It won't be like the last time. Let's think positively. But at the same time, you know that there are ways, obviously, to adapt to a new kind of model, and to make things a little bit more easier for you and for the people that you work with. So, you know, we've got to work with what we got. All right, that's all from me. Take care. What I'm going to do also is I'll put a copy of the almond induction in one of the units. I don't know what it's called on Facebook right now, but I'll put it in one of the units under the hypnotherapy section. And it's the almond induction, and there's no arm drop in there. So just so you've got an example that you can utilize and implement straight away. So I hope you find that helpful. And like I said, if you've got any questions, please let me know. Please take care of yourselves and take care of your clients. And that's all from me for now. Bye.